Yeah, it's live. Yeah, we're both muted. I don't hear anything. There's no audio at all. I don't know. It's No, we're not muted anymore. It's just me. I'll just stop talking.
Thank you all for joining. It is dark outside. It is time for Crypto After Dark, brought to you by Constant Collab. We eat, breathe, sleep, everything finance and crypto. Please join our Telegram chat. Please follow us on Instagram. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm here with one of my childhood best friends once again, continuing our visitor segment this week. Yesterday we had on Adam and Alex Church, talking about, our crypto journeys, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight again. But we also have Chris on us with us tonight. Chris is, again, one of my good friends from growing up. We spent a lot of time playing video games and doing stuff like that together, and now we harass each other about crypto. So Chris, do you want to introduce yourself for a minute?
Yeah, sure. My name's Chris. What was that?
Can't hear you now.
You
Are you
can't hear
muted
me?
on Zoom?
I don't believe so.
Are you muted on Zoom?
No, I'm not.
Oh, no.
Test, test, test.
That's crazy. It's coming through when you talk, too. Like, I can see it on OBS.
Yeah, I'm not muted.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Dude, my own computer volume was down, so everybody can hear us on. Everybody could hear you.
He's so good at this. I was listening to the stream. I could hear myself.
So when it's different when I'm hosting by myself and when I'm hosting with people. It's a different setup for me, and so I muted the volume on. I slowly engaged the music down, which also in turned off your voice. So anyway,
all good. We're learning. Yeah, my name's Chris Diener. I am a actual branch manager at a local financial institution here in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Me and Brian have known each other since freshman year of high school when I cheated off him in Spanish. Shout out for that. But yeah, I recently got into crypto a couple years ago with Brian. He kind of introduced me and got me started with a couple of coins, looking at things. And since then, we've actually kind of gone separate ways, I think, on a lot of things. And I have a pretty couple different views than he does on things, but obviously we still talk daily and kind of figure it out. And we're a lot of same things that you touched on with Adam and Alex yesterday. We're in this together to like have a boat together. We're not in this to be on a boat alone. So yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, dude, thanks for that, and great to have you here. I think we've been talking about doing things like this for a lot of time, and we spend so much time talking about it anyway. We might as well, put it out there and talk and share that the differences and the similarities, right? And so tonight we're going to start with talking about halving cycles. I think if you're new to crypto, it might be something you've heard about and not really fully understood, or want to get a little bit more information about that. So we'll start by talking about halving cycles, and then we're going to move into more, just back and forth conversation about some of the major players like Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the higher staked altcoins, look at some charts, and then just talk about our opinions on where we think things are going, because this is a really crucial time across all of the markets, right? We're looking at asset bubbles across the spectrum. There's a lot of tension with the Evergrande situation and its relativity to Tether in the crypto market as well. So we'll dump into all that. So I'm going to start by just talking about this market cycle article that's actually from 2019. But if you take a look at it, I'm not going to read all of this information right here, but it has this graphic here that I'm going to pull up for everybody. And it starts down here on the bottom left. You can't really see it on my screen, but it starts down here where Bitcoin's basically at like where that guy was spending 40,000 Bitcoins on a pizza or whatever. And then it starts moving up. It shows you these bull market zones, the bear market, accumulation, expansion, and reaccumulation through all of the cycles. And here in 2019, obviously had a really good trajectory because we are, right inside of this blue bubble somewhere about right here. And so, Chris, what are your opinions on this, on halving cycles in general? And I guess maybe before you start, I should further state that the halving cycle really refers to the fact that every 4 years, or where these lines are occurring, the transactional reward for mining Bitcoin transactions or completing those Bitcoin transactions with your own powerhouse computer miners or whatever setup you have is literally slashed in half. And that's where the halving terminology comes from. So halving creates scarcity. With scarcity, the price goes up. So I just wanted to I should have started with that probably, but I'll give the floor to Chris now to sort of give his 2 cents on this.
Yeah, if you want to actually pull up, you'll probably have to download it in the or sorry, not Discord, the Zoom chat. Yeah, in the Zoom chat. So currently what we're looking at is a little bit different as far as my opinion for it goes. If you look at it there, it's just a fractal from a previous cycle. And realistically, this is just my personal opinion on how this has gone so far and how it's kind of going to play out in my eyes. So the line on the green, darker line on the left is a previous fractal from a bull market cycle. I believe it's the 2017. It's either the 2013 or the 2017, but I think it's 17. And you pull that and you put it in kind of the same idea where we are right now. Currently, it's played out a lot longer as far as the accumulation phase, which is, I mean, realistically not a terrible thing. It kind of allows more people to get in on it and kind of get their get their feet wet with it realistically. But what's happening for me right now is kind of we're getting to the end of what I would believe is the bull market cycle. Um, we'll get into a couple other charts that me and Brian have shared and talked about, but realistically for me, the Fibonacci extension here, I know we don't talk about fibs too much here, but realistically it's just a charting tool to kind of project what could possibly happen in a market. But basically my opinion of it right now is that Bitcoin's going to get around 72, 75,000, and that's kind of going to be the end of Bitcoin. I realize that's not a super popular opinion. I realize everybody wants Bitcoin to go to 300,000, at least 150, whatever. Yeah, that chart pulls it up to 140. Um, a lot of people want Bitcoin to keep going, and believe me, I agree with that sentiment. But at the same time, for me, the more Bitcoin goes, the less the altcoins get play, just because of how the market caps work for everything. We can't just add trillions of dollars every single time and have just not have just Bitcoin going. So if Bitcoin were to go that high, for me, it would basically mean that nothing else is getting play, and it kind of pulls money from the altcoins. So for my thought perspective of it is Bitcoin's gonna kind of top soon, and when that happens, that's when altcoins are gonna kind of go nuts. So I mean, again, just my opinion. I realize Bitcoin maxis are going to be mad at that, and everybody wants Bitcoin to keep going, and I think it will, just not in this cycle. I think it's kind of pushed the limit for this cycle so far, just based on previous cycles and how long it takes for that to kind of accumulate. And once it breaks down pretty hard. So, I mean, I think we will see a $40,000 Bitcoin before we see a $100,000 Bitcoin. But again, that's just my opinion. I know Brian's a little bit differing with that to an extent, but that's just the way I'm looking at it currently.
You know, at this stage, I'm a bit emotionless to some of the targets, right? I think after not taking as much profit as I could have in May, and realizing also that I invest in a lot of assets that are just waiting on their own time. You sort of take the timing out of it, and it kind of takes out the emotion too, and it also creates your ability to say, hey, if you think it's going down, just shave some and save some USDT and buy it back. I mean, you're making money and you're beating inflation, and that's the important part. I think everybody comes into this game thinking they're like you started off saying, I'm not going to work and I'm just going to get out of here. That's just simply not true. And so I think with some of the inflation headlines we've been seeing, with some of the scarcity that we're seeing, being able to just live off your salary and just be comfortable on some profits is not really a thing anymore. You should always be looking for the next move. And so these conversations are healthy because they put it in perspective and they give you the opportunity to say, hey, it might not be a bad idea to shave half here. Just like TL is constantly in our chat saying, make sure you're taking profits, right? We're all sharing articles. He comes in like, we take profits. That's it. So in general, we wanted to start by, bringing up the halving cycle and talking about where we're at in this stage. Obviously, we are somewhere dangerous here. So if you're looking at this blue, let me kind of get out of here on a year perspective here. So somewhere right in the middle of, we're towards the end of this blue box. Okay. So when you're at the end of a blue box, the one thing I will say is the end of the blue box is where the parabolas happen. So that's one thing to consider. Whether or not Chris's acumen is right or not, it's about time to be done. And that's that's the important part here. Whether it's November, December, January, February, I don't think we're going to make it too much further past some of those time frames. So we'll certainly be paying attention. And if you want to get some updates on our perspectives and more, download that Telegram app and join our chat. And we'll, certainly I drop my perspective in there almost every day. So moving forward on that.
Sorry, real quick, while you still got that chart up. So just to kind of put into perspective of the end of the blue box, if you just look at the previous market cycle with the 2016, 2017 halving in the middle there. So when the bull market's happening, right, we're starting Bitcoin around $300, I think. $300 and $400 at the beginning of that bull market cycle. We're getting up to around 13.
It actually touched these peaks here are actually like 19. The monthly closes are like 8 and 13 or something. They're lower.
Yeah. So we're touching 19 there at the top of the bull market cycle. And then in that bear market there, we're dropping all the way down to around what looks to be 3,000.
Yeah.
So, and obviously in that perspective of it, I mean, we're looking at a
So it's
sorry, I
it's
don't have my
between
charts
80 and
up,
90% drop.
60, well, $64,000 Bitcoin right now. Like that's obviously much bigger numbers than this, but as far as the perspective of percentages, like that is a big drop from 68, 64, what we were in the past week, to what's going to be kind of the bear market is going to hurt that market a lot. So that's why we're kind of giving you the idea of like, don't think this is going to last forever. It can't. It literally can't. Just from a charting perspective. I mean, it's not impossible. Crazier things have happened, but the likelihood of it going past 2022, even into 2022 deeply, is rare. So that's why we're kind of giving you the heads up and the idea of, I mean, you're going to have to take profits at some point. You can't just ride this out um, until it kind of just goes to $1 million for you. Realistically, it's not likely. But yeah, moving forward here, what do you got for me?
This is a look at some of the metrics here. So, this is what you can get. This was the average rate of BTC being created in the halving cycles across, I
Oh
guess,
yeah,
all miners, really. Every 10 minutes, the mining industry was creating 50 BCT. Now it's 25. Now it's 12 and a half. Now it's 6.5. Then we'll go to 3.125. Then we'll go to, I'm not going to test my math skills any further than that. But,
yeah,
here's again, and to Chris's point on that last one before we sort of move on, we'll talk about Ethereum and some of the other extensions next. But wherever my first chart is, these are all 80 to 90% drops, and we're going to see that again. So when you get up here, if it's 14,000 and it's a 90% drop, or if it's 140,000 and it's a 90% drop, you're going to lose $126,000 of that value, and we're going to go back to 14,000, and that seems, that's fair. That's a good target, I think. And if you look at the last cycle really quickly, this peaks over like at 1100, I think, or something like that. It took care of that retesting in this cycle, and then only retested like 3,000 in the bear market. So while there is some conservatorship from Chris's perspective, I think also I don't see that. So I've seen one of my favorite guys, Tori Corton. I followed him since he was with Sean Lee in the Forex market doing Cryptonary. I followed him when he was doing Crypto Wizard. I'm curious as to why he's constantly like losing sight of his projects. I worry about that side of it, but I think his insight is powerful. But the one thing he's talking about constantly is like 6K Bitcoin and like 10-cent XRP, and really it would have to be an economic bomb for all of that to happen. We're gonna have to see Evergrande, that whole situation blow up. We're gonna have to see a housing bubble blow up. We're gonna have to see a lot of shit blow up for all of that to fumble, because we have a lot of institutions holding a lot. We have a lot of players holding a lot, and so it's really, they're gonna have to be stabbed like massively to fumble their bags there. So anyway, let's talk next about, I guess, this article before we move into some charts. You wanted to talk about this article a little bit?
yeah. Let me get it pulled up on mine so I can kind of follow along.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So I mean, like I was saying at the beginning there, I kind of have a background on personal banking as far as a perspective of the average person, the day to day of Joe Schmo coming into the bank to deposit his payroll check of $700 and how he spends that money on a day to day basis. So one of the articles I pulled up that I kind of thought was pretty interesting is a lot of people, as far as trading crypto and trading stocks in general, the numbers, it's funny. The article basically tries to say that it's crazy how much people are investing in crypto now, right? 13% of Americans are investing in crypto, and If you scroll down a little bit, it brings up the age range a little bit further down. It basically says the crypto traders are 41% women, 40 blah, 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 blah. And then the age range the average investor is 38 years old, which I even think is a little old on that perspective, because for us, like we don't know many people in that age range that are investing. It's usually people our age, around the 25 to 30 range, and then past that it's rare. So, and they also bring up whereas stock investors are around the average of
This
47.
this this is just. However, investors with college degrees tended to favor stock.
I love it.
51%
I
of
love it
those
so
who
much.
traded stock in the past year had college degrees versus 45% of those who traded crypto. Okay.
I love
All
that.
right. All right. I brought this up yesterday. I'm going to bring it up again.
Yeah, Tim Cook. Love it.
Okay. So, Alex and Adam brought up this point where it's like, well, I told my friends that I was invested in crypto and they told me it was stupid. So it's like, so you're
Yes.
basically calling me stupid. And
Yeah, no, I
And you
heard
look
all
at the
that.
opposite of this. It's like investors with college degrees tend to favor stock. I was like, well, why don't? How about you just not have a college degree then? Because like,
Yeah.
you could just invest in. I mean, at this.
But so to the point I was getting to, the numbers here are very skewed because investors with college degrees tend to favor stocks, blah blah blah. People older tend to favor stocks. It's fine. That's because those people have 401ks. That's because those people have financial advisors. They don't know what they're investing in.
This
They
isn't. This
they
is. This is long. Not. I didn't mean to cut you off. This is long term
No, you're fine.
indoctrination too, right? This is like
Mhm.
my favorite one is like when I was working with Sebastian at La Trattoria in the restaurant. Um, we talked to people at the markets like when we were in college, just to like see what people are like right after college, especially when we're actually like making some money. And the guys are like, I made 12% on the stock market this year, and I'm just like,
This year.
this
This year.
year, this year. And so to the point, and then to get you back into segue back into your point here, this is you don't teach old dogs new tricks. Like,
No.
I'm not saying the stock market's a bad investment. It's gone up since its inception, but that's why we're talking about the inception of a new market, because it's going to go up
Yes.
forever.
Yes. And this, I mean, again, there's plenty of holes in this article as well, but just from the numbers of percentages and things like that, this just points out how out of touch the older market is as far as investing in crypto. So when when it's saying that people are invested in the stock market, that's because they're invested in things that they have no knowledge of. You can't go to Edward Jones, you can't go to Fidelity, you can't go to these big financial brokerage offices and say, "Hey, I want to invest in crypto." They don't do that. There's too much risk there for them. So they're not going to sit here and say, um, yeah, let's put you in Ethereum. Let's put you in Cardano. Let's look at this project. They don't do that. That's too much for them. They want what they've done for years upon years upon years, which is we look at the charts, we look at what's been successful, we look at what could be possibly successful. We're going to take your risk analysis and what you want to do with your money, and then we're going to throw that in the market. That's what they've always done. It's not, it is rare, incredibly rare, that somebody comes to a financial advisor and says, I want to look into this specific thing. They say, I want you to invest my money and make me money. That's all they want to do. So 3% gains on your $100,000, that's great. Good for you. Um, I personally
I know
made a
somebody.
thousand.
We know somebody who likes those
Yes,
investments.
yes, we do. I personally made $1,000 off joke money like a week ago, just because I was bored and that's not a flex, that not financial advice, any of that.
Are
But
you,
I'm
you
just saying,
flexing, bro?
yes. So off $200, I made $1,000 in a week. Meanwhile, you're making 3% an entire year off your $100,000. You could put that in a CD, like you could put that in an annuity, and it's guaranteed to make that. But you are investing where realistically you could lose 5%, and
You
that's obviously not what you want.
you know
But
some of
you
those
you
invest.
think
Go ahead. Finish. Finish. Sorry.
no, 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 you're fine. Go ahead.
some of those investors are looking or smart enough to look at like AMC and GameStop, and they're like, "What the fuck?" They're like
Yeah,
pissed.
and that
They're like,
hurts.
"My
That
I've
hurts.
been working 40 years and buying stock to retire with my wife just to have 5 million or whatever, and these bastards are making money off shell companies and Donald Trump's S packs or whatever. Like it's not even it does hurt. I'm gonna get rid of this Jim Cramer drawing now, but
I love, I, I love how terrible Jim Cramer is.
oh my,
He it honestly, straight up, if Jim Cramer, if you're ever, first off, you should probably not watch CNBC. Yeah, yeah, CNBC. But if you're watching Jim Cramer and he tells you to buy something, do not buy
fade Kramer.
that. Not financial advice,
On
but
one episode of like the lunch hour Crypto After Dark, we talked about how Jim Cramer told Braulio to sell Tesla like at like
yeah,
200 a share.
he's also uh it's been multiple occasions. I can't think of a specific one, but I know there's been so many that that's probably why I can't. There's been multiple occasions where he's basically saying, do not buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin goes up, and then he's shilling Bitcoin and Bitcoin's diving. Like within a 2 week period of him saying it. So realistically, it's the opposite of what he's saying is most likely what you're gonna want to do for it. You want to
100%.
talk
I was muted on OBS for a second, but yeah, I was gonna segue over into. So this is Chris's Ethereum Fibonacci here. The 0 is at 74 and the 1 is at 1422 for reference. So he has the previous cycle fibbed out, so to speak, and has the extensions for this cycle playing out here. So do you want to talk about this fib?
Actually, if you could go to the Bitcoin one first, just because I like to play off Bitcoin, just because obviously, again, I'm more of a charts guy. I don't like specifics of certain projects. I like certain projects, but from a charts perspective, I think it's much easier to kind of gauge things based off charts than kind of the project themselves, especially in a crypto space. Unfortunately, people don't look at projects, they just look at the coin. So when people see Bitcoin, that's all. When people think crypto, they think Bitcoin and Ethereum. So usually those two coins kind of lead the way. For me, this is just what I've kind of been looking at for Bitcoin since the previous market cycle. So the one in this case is the top of the previous market cycle back to 2017 bull run. Um, in this case, from what I've been kind of looking at, is the top of Bitcoin coming in. I know we touched on that pretty early on um, in the stream here, but that this is kind of my idea behind it. This is where I'm looking at a 72 to $75,000 Bitcoin, and at that point, that's kind of when we start to see some selling of Bitcoin and going into altcoins. That's tended to happen in every market cycle so far. Um, Basically, Bitcoin tops out. There's a pretty big dip in Bitcoin, and then that's when everything else goes on its run. So I know we're big XRP guys here, especially with the constant collab. But that XRP has not had a bull run that didn't consist of Bitcoin hitting an all-time high and then taking a dive. So every time XRP is taken off is based off the idea that Bitcoin hits the top. Once it hits that top, it kind of dances for a little bit, takes a little bit of a dive, can play around in there, and then that's kind of when the altcoin market takes off in general. XRP is usually pretty late to that party, which with a lawsuit and all that fun stuff happening, uh, I'm hoping the stars align basically, and lawsuit clears up, gets relisted on Coinbase. We go to $20 just to that, which $20 would even break my charts, but I don't even care at that point. But that's just my hope is that there's so much going for it that it kind of just does crazy things in general. Yeah, and then obviously we got some projects that Ripple's already been working on and doing really well with. But that's as far as my perspective of the current cycle and everything. These are just my fibs that kind of I'm looking at to gauge where we are in the market. So once Bitcoin starts hitting that $70,000 mark to me, that's kind of when I'm all hands on deck. I'm going to be looking at charts regular, like all day, every day, have them up on a second monitor and making sure nothing's taking off, because it's usually not everything at once. It's usually we rotate
Our
into a
lives
different
are over.
coin. What was that?
Our lives are over.
Yeah, basically for at least a solid week. But it's usually they rotate into one coin. That one coin goes crazy. After that one coin goes crazy, we rotate into the next project. That's literally, I mean, it's uncanny how that has happened in every bull market, where a couple things go off, and as those couple things are going off, it's rotating into the next thing. So that's where you have to kind of, sorry, you're typing. Oh, gotcha. 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 Fair. Um, good, good. But no, that's just how I'm looking at the market currently. Is I'm hoping that I'm hoping my projections and Fibonacci extensions are correct, but obviously if they're not, that just means we're going higher. That's not a terrible thing, but for me, I just have a perspective of this will be ending soon, whether it's in 2 weeks, whether it's in 2 months. Um, I'm not sure, obviously, and I'm not big on time frames. I don't like to throw out a time frame, which I have so many segues that I just thought of. I just randomly thought of people on Twitter who just shill like, oh wait, give it a week and this is gonna go up 100x, and it's just like
Where are you getting that from?
it's they say it about XRP all the time. I can't. Crypto whale is one of them. There's literally so many people
Where's
that I
that? Who's the guy that's like that grandpa that looks like an emoji grandpa, and he's like retweet crypto. I forget which one it is, but he's just like retweet. Yeah, he's always talking about how it's gonna go up tomorrow, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, do you delete your tweets after you say that and it doesn't go up? Like,
yeah,
because I can go back in your history and there's nothing of you talking about that stuff.
yeah.
But that's sorry, terrible segue. But it was basically just I hate the shilling of BS coins on Twitter, and it just happens so often that it's just comical at this point to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we've really been level headed about is, you know, there's only so many currencies to go around that really could have any utility in the future, and we're truly in the .com boom of all of that. There's no regulations. There's nothing going on. There was tons of internet service providers doing the same shit, trying to buy up all the domains and do shit like that at the beginning of the that inception, and so obviously with projects like this, while they don't move up as much at the beginning, and I know we started this on Ethereum and we talking about Ripple really quickly, but here's what the XRP fib looks like from your perspective, and there's tons of different fibs you can run on this, but this one has the one at 325, which was our tip last time, and the zero at like was that 11 cents, and then the 423 or the top extension at $13, which when you look at the Ripple net map and when you look at the sort of the banks and the people that are involved with Ripple, I was reading the Japan and the Philippines corridor. That's $2 billion a year. You look at all these corridors, $2 billion a year, $2 billion a year. Only 25 corridors at $2 billion a year is $50 billion a year, which is basically the total value of all of the XRP in circulation. Granted, there's a lot more out there because of this damn lawsuit, for lack of a better word, but the 47 billion in circulation right now are literally worth $1 and some change each. So that's like a little over 47 billion, or I guess it's like 60 billion if it's $1.20. But either way, the price can't go down and then have there be enough liquidity for it to operate. And so you can't have a conversation like that about even, you know, a Bitcoin in some sense. People are confused about like what's the transactional value of it. I mean, some of these other players have real transactional value, and they're the ones that aren't seeing any price appreciation.
Yep.
So, um,
Well, and I mean,
go back
just
to the Ethereum chart while you're talking about that now.
well, go back to the XRP chart because we
Okay,
got all
okay.
that. Just to touch on the sentiment of it is people in the United States, one, have a hard time buying XRP. I mean, Coinbase is, I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but Coinbase is how most people buy crypto in general, just because it's the easiest to function. It's just how it's done currently. I know we use probably, I think I use 5 different platforms to buy on at this point, but Coinbase is kind of everybody's go-to, and not being able to purchase it on Coinbase is just that alone, I think, hurting the price a little bit. But obviously, the United States consumer, the American consumer, seeing a lawsuit is scary to them. They don't actually do the research past that. They're like, oh, the SEC doesn't like this. That means it's sketchy. And crypto in general is sketchy to me. So I'm just not even going to think about it. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to go buy my Shibu Inu and my Squid Game.
Which are
And
not sketchy, not sketchy
no,
at all.
no.
Just
I
XRP.
mean, yeah, I mean, she went up. SHIB went up what, 20,000%? No, something stupid. Was it seven
Not
thousand?
sketchy at all. In fact, I
No.
tell people to buy when it's up 20,000% because there's more gains to be had.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's the funny part to me is, I mean, obviously, if Coinbase relists, which I mean, there's possibility for that. There's been talk. The CEO of Coinbase has already brought up how the SEC is going after them now, and how they're basically saying how unfair it is, which is ironic considering that they delisted XRP as soon as the SEC said something. But it to me, it's just a matter of kind of when it happens. It's not necessarily if it happens. So my hope, especially for the XRP price chart, which we have the fib here for, it hasn't done anything because it's been held down. The SEC's kind of taken the opportunity from XRP and XRP holders to kind of have their day, which realistically, if you look at any other chart, I know we only have three. We have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, and then we have XRP. Those have already at least had a pretty good time already. They're close to their 4.236 extensions already, which usually that's kind of the ideal top for at least the fib extension charting perspective. So with XRP still being down here this hard, to me, it's scary because it's either going to kind of miss the bull run and have its own, which would be out of character for it, or it's going to go nuts within a day or two, which is even scarier because then it turns into like a pump and dump looking thing. And I hate that idea, but
Muted on OBS. If you're holding XRP on Coinbase there, you're not fucking selling it in a day or two because
no.
it's going to be down for maintenance the entire time.
Yep.
So you have to move your shit to Bitrue is a good exchange in America. There's other decentralized exchanges that you can move your XRP to and sell it and then move it back to Coinbase in XLM or USDC or whatever the hell you want and get your cash that way. But if you are holding your assets on Coinbase or even Binance US and I've been moving some VChain and VThor off Binance US to Bitrue and other decentralized or other just more liquid and operable exchanges during these high volatility periods because you just don't want to get screwed holding that bag. And I think
No.
to finish your sentiment, I think you're spot on here. I think given how much correlation there is in these high dominance periods with Bitcoin, meaning like when Bitcoin has a lot of dominance, there's typically a lot of correlation with the altcoins, and it's hard to, they do that on purpose. It's hard to mentally break away from the fact that like when Bitcoin goes down, the altcoins are going to go down for a second too. You're going to have to hold on or shave and rebuy if that's your thing. Because if you really look, and I'm pointing my magic finger, I guess I should use the zoom annotate here, but this is what a lot of people are trying to I'm going to try to draw the straightest line possible here, but this is like the trend line that hasn't been broken, right? It's something like that, and I could draw a much straighter one. I don't know why we don't just pull up trading view.
Yeah,
I'm not the best streamer yet, you know what I'm saying?
that's all right.
Let me
Make sure you get rid of your line.
let me clear that. Let me just turn off the annotate here and go to my XRP chart. But really, there's this really solid long-term line here, and I actually have it up. It's this thick green one right in the middle. This is sort of the long-term trend, and you can re-angle it and do it however you want. You could pull it down like this, maybe pull it through those wicks there, and then you kind of see here, pull it into your view. But you can kind of see like this is that 320, the 325s up here, but typically on these you don't really honor wicks, you honor candle closes. And so you got these candle closes below here, and then we're trying to touch it right now. And so if it fails, it is going to go back down here. Now that's 70-80 cents is where people are going to be like, make or break, is this bull run going to happen or is it not? So if Chris is right and Bitcoin doesn't keep going, XRP is going to come down here, no doubt, 80 cents again. And nobody's really expecting that to happen. But at that 80-cent point, it's going to make this decision, which is a trend line all the way from this anchor into that low 2017 at less than a cent, less than 0.3 of a cent. The trend goes all the way up through all of these lows and has a ton of confluence. It's either going to decide, are we going to hold that trend, which in my opinion we should, as one of the better assets in the market, and have the SEC finally give up or whatever, or are we not? And that's in February of next year, so that's a long way to go if that really happens. So
Well, so the lawsuit in general, I believe, currently is projected to March of next year. It's been pushed back recently. There's been trying to think of the correct terminology. I'm not great with lawsuits. I believe it's a motion that basically the SEC is saying that they don't have to give information about a specific thing, blah 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 blah, which has pushed it out further. Or no, it's that they don't. It's not that they don't have to give the information; it's that they need more time to get the information put together. So that's basically the judge saying, "Okay, we'll push it out longer." And currently, that's pushed out till March of next year, which that could be the latest time that this is in some ways settled. As far as my knowledge, it might have changed. I haven't looked into it within the past week, so it's hard to keep up with sometimes. But that kind of lines up with the timeline of if everything's kind of happening and we got these trend lines, it's something where it'll be a make or break point. And at that point, it might just be completely coincidental that the SEC decides that they don't have a case, or the SEC decides that they're going to pull something out of their ass and start winning, because so far the SEC hasn't been doing a good job of showing that XRP is a security. They've done a terrible job. And they've actually, I mean, they're slowly but surely digging themselves a very deep hole, because their perspective of it is certain things are securities and certain things aren't, but we have no proof or knowledge of any of that. We're just kind of saying it, and that's
we're the only ones in the world with this position.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so
we have hundreds of other countries and global institutions that have said, all right, whenever the SEC is, fucking good and ready, we'll start doing business and
yeah,
and really open up the but I think some of that is due timing. It's
yeah.
If you want to go all the way into the simulation aspect, like
yeah.
everything's been planned.
Yes.
The day has already been planned. Like, we're just sitting here like debating on something that's.
I feel like it's a big thing in the crypto community, and I hate to say it, but the more you sit in it and the more you see the markets and the more you're kind of just like watching things happen, the more you feel like everything is a simulation. And it's scary. But I don't want to have that conversation.
It gets
It
deep,
gets way too deep for me. But I mean, I agree. It does tend to feel that way often,
if there's
more than it should.
any bachelors and bachelorettes out there, when it's like whenever it's time, it'll happen. Like,
Yeah,
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 feels good, doesn't it? Right? You're in
yeah,
your own little sim, right?
yeah.
All right, what else we got? We've talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about Ethereum, we've talked about XRPs, sort of fractals and positionings. Do you have anything you kind of want to like close out with, or anything you want to like continue to finish the conversation with?
Yeah, so we talked briefly about the retail investor and kind of like the regular person and the average Joe, and yeah, briefly on this. How we were talking about how a lot of people who have stocks and their investments are within stocks, it's done for them. And my thought process on, I mean, this is big future thoughts and not necessarily anything for this cycle, but the next cycle for me is kind of where this stuff becomes more real. That's kind of also why I have the thought of this cycle ending soon. I think the problem the problem I have with this not ending soon is eventually it has to break, because there's not going to be the big names, the financial advisors, the big just regular banks that are trying to push people into cryptocurrency, or at least like advise people in cryptocurrency. A lot of those financial advisors are not going to touch crypto this cycle, which leads me to believe that the average Joe isn't going to touch crypto in this cycle.
They're just gonna
What?
hold for a whole nother cycle.
Well, no, it's basically, so sorry.
Oh,
My
you
thought
mean they're
process,
not gonna the ones who haven't invested aren't going to even start?
yes, yes, which leads me to believe that
Well,
once
because
this
to your
cycle
point, the
ends,
ROI is already exhausted. Like they're not getting anything out
yeah,
of this cycle.
yes, exactly. And then once the cycle looks to end and we start going into a bear market and things are looking a little bit more enticing as far as buying perspective, that's when a lot of you're on the upside of that. They're not gonna be smart enough to get it on the downside, but the financial institutions and the financial advisors, that's when they're going to start being like, maybe we should look into advising people in crypto, because that is a market that tends to be on the up just as much as the stock market, if not more. So while there's volatility, it's something where they can assess the risk and say, yeah, if you're willing to take risk, like we can look into crypto for you. So when I'm saying this, I'm talking about like the Edward Jones. I'm talking about the local bank financial advisor, those people with the Wells Fargo's, like the people who right now would not touch crypto with a 10-foot pole. They are terrified of crypto. Like I don't know
Some
if I
of
said
them
it
are
earlier.
jumping in. Some of them are talking about custody services. But to
Mhm.
your point, they're going to ramp it up on the downside. They're going to ramp it up on
Yes.
the bear market. They're not going to ramp it up now. That would be a super
No.
fuck you by them. So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah. So then once we're in a bear market and it's looking more enticing to buy, then they're going to be looking at people and saying, "Oh, you have $80,000 that you're looking to invest. Well, what do you think about cryptocurrency? What do you think about NFTs?" I mean, they're going to start looking into things on blockchain technology that they're not really looking at right now, as far as getting the retail investor into. They're not looking to get the person off. They're looking to get your business right now. So right now they're saying, "I'll get you in something that'll make you 5% in a year, guaranteed, no matter what. Is it an annuity? Is it a stock? Is it a bond? Whatever. I'm going to get you something that makes you money." Because they want your money. If they're investing your money, they're making money off your money. That's just basically how it works. But if they are looking to make more of a risk-based investment, then they're going to start looking at crypto. And when they start looking at crypto, that's, to me, when the next bull market's going to take place, because that's when you're going to have financial advisors, you're going to have financial institutions, which to certain points, financial institutions are already involved. but not in the actual investment of it perspective.
You're
They don't,
you're crushing everybody's decentralized dreams here too.
yeah, I tend to do that. That's just the banker in me, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, the other bankers, the personal bankers are like, screw you, dude. I have like a bunch of silver coins and Bitcoin, so I'm gonna become my own bank. And I'm not saying it won't happen, but here's the two. Yeah, you're gonna get one or the
Yeah,
other, or something in the middle.
yeah. But yeah, that's the idea for this article for me was realistically the people who are invested in the stock market aren't personally invested in the stock market. They're invested through a broker, they're invested through a financial institution, through an advisor, through something along those lines. While realistically, people invested in crypto are invested themselves. They downloaded Coinbase, they downloaded Binance US, they downloaded whatever, crypto.com, whatever it is, they are personally buying and selling these assets. That is their personal belief at this point.
Right.
So to me, they make it crazy. They make it seem crazy that 13% is such a high number for people to be investing in crypto. For me, that's so low compared to what it should be. I personally think even if you're just dabbling, I think you have a better chance of dabbling in crypto and kind of educating yourself and making a case for your investments and actually making profits than investing in just some random stock. Especially the people invested in the stock market are just, oh, Apple's a company. I like Apple. They make phones. Oh, Tesla? Yeah, love Tesla. I don't actually know what Tesla's doing, but it's doing well, right? It's green. I buy that, right? They don't know what they're doing. They see big names and that's what they buy. And that's just how it's kind of always been for the retail investor personally investing their money in the stock market. Meanwhile, in crypto, unless you're blindly buying Doge,
Well,
Squid,
that's
whatever,
what they do in America. America's number one investment
I
is
know,
shit
and
coins.
it's terrifying. I hate that so much. I've had a million conversations on why Dogecoin is
Yeah,
not a
when
buy.
people ask you about crypto, they don't ask you about XRP or Ethereum or Bitcoin. They're
No,
like, hey, what do you think about Doge or SHIB or
no,
SafeMoon?
yeah, they asked me about Bitcoin and then they asked me about Doge. That's basically how every conversation goes.
Yeah,
And then if it goes any further, it goes into SHIB right now, which literally that's every conversation I ever have about
like
crypto.
these people don't even know.
No, they have no idea. And the hard thing for me, and Adam and Alex touched on it a lot last night. Shout out to them. Haven't seen them in a while. Love those guys. But the hard thing for me is not shilling my coins. I don't want to do that. To me personally, if you are telling me to buy something, that means I shouldn't buy it. And unless I know you personally and you can sit down and educate me on it, because that's how it should be. It shouldn't be like, oh yeah, I have this, you should buy it. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's not how you should look to invest. You should look at, I have this, you should buy it. Okay, let me do my research.
Mm-hmm.
And you go back and you research it, and it seems like a project that makes sense. It seems like something that could be profitable, whatever. That's fine. You can throw money in it then. But for me personally, when people come to me and say, should I buy this? I never say yes or no. I say, you should look into it. You should see if it's something that makes sense to you. And while you're looking at that, maybe you look at this, and this, because these projects are similar. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's something to me where I don't like saying what I'm invested in. I don't like saying, well, to an extent. I will say to most people that I'm invested in XRP because to me that's the most logical cryptocurrency there is. I don't know why anybody wouldn't try and show that, but that's just me. But when people say I found this random thing on Coinbase that's up 1,000%, okay, did you actually look at it, or you just saw that it's up 1,000% and you think you should buy it now? That's it. That's all the research you did. Okay, that's cool. I mean, do what you want, but I'm definitely not going to buy that. Why would anybody buy that when it's up 1,000%? And that's the
Hey, it'd
shit
be a
stuff.
lot cooler if you did.
That's the Shivs. That's the Doge Law Mars. That's the uh God, I can't even think of the stupid names of these coins.
Let's just we don't have to end it. Let's just do it. Let's just talk about. Let's go to Coin Market Cap and look at the
Oh,
biggest gainers. Pancake Games, Angry Squid, Husky YX.
oh
Pancake
my
Games is up
God.
2,000% in 24
Now,
hours.
okay, is Pancake Games anywhere related to Pancake Swap? Because I actually like Pancake
They're
Swap.
all related to each other. That's how they get. That's how
I
Spidey
know,
Inu, Spidey Inu.
dude.
Get this
This is
Spider-Man with the Inu. So this
this
is what
is
happens when you
depressing.
buy. When you
This
buy them,
is
you lose big too. So we got Strong Hands Finance down 87%. Tipsy Santa not doing so well. We Finance Finance. What the fuck am I reading?
is it well, Nance? Is that an
No, I
L?
think that's an I. Maybe it's an L. Well, Nance Finance. I don't know. Why is this not capitalized? That's really frustrating me.
Because it was made 2 days
They're
ago.
balls.
Oh, this is
Oh,
this is so
balls down
depressing.
60% today. If you're in balls, that sucks balls, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, all of
Yeah.
these on the left are up 100% today. Scrumble Network. Do your own research token.
Well,
That's a
so
good one.
do pull up the actual top 100 right now. I want to see at least at the couple probably an hour before the start of the stream. Yeah, so everything was at least up uh 1% or down 1% on the 24, which considering the fall we just had was nuts to me. But for everything to still be up after a I didn't even look at the percentage on the Bitcoin chart. Was it a 10% fall?
Yeah, it was a little over 10. It was like 69 to 62. So at 69, 10% is 7 grand.
Yeah. So a 10% fall, and realistically, if you look at the greed index right now, fear, greed, geez, can't think right now. Um, it's still 70% greedy,
That's a
or
picture.
70 on the greed scale. From the last time I looked. So people aren't afraid of this market. They're
Oh shit! Time to
yeah,
start thinking about selling when we get up
yeah,
here.
exactly. So that ties back into how I was looking at the fib extensions of Bitcoin and everything. This is where things start to add up for me at least. Like I said, I'm not trying to say Bitcoin's not going to go to $100,000. I just don't think it's here. I don't think it's in this cycle. I think it's going to happen for sure, and I hope for the sake of a lot of people I know who are invested in the larger assets on crypto, that it does happen here. But I don't think it does. I think the top for me is 72 to 75,000. Once it hits that point,
Do
that's
you,
when we get
do you know what
all
that says to me too? It's gonna take a lot longer for it to get to a million than people realize too.
yeah. I mean, it's not going to be quick. They everybody sees thousands of percents on coins, and they think Bitcoin still has that. I think a times two for Bitcoin is a 4 year thing. I think it's going to take a long time for Bitcoin to times two itself at this point.
Well,
Which is why we're invested in things like XRP and VeChain. And I mean, me personally, I have other projects. I mean, EOS, Zcash, Dash. Those are all projects to me that have, just from a chart perspective, a good opportunity to have gains. That's solely through charting, not through their projects themselves. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what EOS. I know EOS is a privacy coin. I know the little pieces of information about it, but I'm definitely not an expert on it. But from a chart perspective, to me, there's gains to be had and things like that. So that's why I never shill Bitcoin. I never plan on buying Bitcoin, at least in this current cycle. But for me, there's plenty of other assets that have potential for gain that are meaningful.
yeah.
But a times 10 XRP is just $10, which I mean, from a market cap perspective, like that's a lot. And usually, um, sorry, I'm going on way too many tangents. Usually, XRP is the only top 100 coin from previous cycles that can flip Ethereum. It did it twice, I believe, in the 2017 cycle. Um, and flipping Ethereum is how you're gonna make those gains in XRP. Like that's where the potential lies. So um, for me, that's why I invest in these type of projects. Like I would rather have a possibility for a 10x than a 2x in Bitcoin. Like you're not going to make that much money there, and that's where a lot of people don't understand this market. They don't understand that yeah, there's thousands of percent gains, but they're not on real projects, and you're never going to know where that project is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, those are all good points, and I think, certainly from that perspective, there's a lot to take in. There's a lot to consider. We've talked about tonight, a lot of the different areas to consider as part of that, and certainly, Chris's perspective is good to consider as we're trying to take profit. I think at this stage, taking profit right now on anything is not a bad idea. We've talked about that in Constant Collab. TL says it all the time. Shout out to Timmy. Uh, we talk about it all the time, and whether or not we squeeze any more out or not, having this knowledge and having this mindset on these new assets is great for the next downturn. Keep dollar cost averaging, keep buying more, and then one day, we'll just sort of be at the end of this. Um, that's how I sort of see it. Um, but yeah, I think with that, I'm gonna sort of wrap it up. Um,
Real quick, I have one more point. Sorry, I
it's
tend
all
to
right.
I tend to rant
We're
a
here for
little
the
bit.
points. We're here for all the
Yeah.
points.
Um, One thing that and me and Brian have touched on this. It's been a long time since we actually brought this up to each other. Is exit strategies. We personally, I mean, I'm thinking me more than him. We have missed out on a lot of opportunity to exit and get back in, which is fine. I mean, we're still learning. We're educating ourselves. We're new to this market to an extent of 2 to 3 years.
I think it would have
So
been easier if we were investing in like shit projects too. Like when you're
yeah,
when you're buying something that you see value in, you're not really thinking about selling it. So,
yeah, exactly.
but anyway,
But having a good exit strategy is kind of my main goal for a lot of this stuff. That's why I look at fib extensions. That's why I look at like exit possible tops for these projects is if you don't have an exit strategy, you're going to be sitting there at what you think is the top and you're going to sell early and then it's going to go up another 10, 15x. And you're going to sit there at what you think there's no way this is the top. And then it's going to go down a solid 40% on you and then you miss the top drastically. So having an exit strategy, even for me personally, a lot of my assets are when it gets to a certain point, I'm selling 65%. When it gets to another certain point, I'm selling about 15% from the
the
35 I have
original
left.
100, yeah.
And then after that, I'll ride it out. If it dives 50%, I can still sell that asset and still feel good about it because I got most of my returns from it already. If it goes up another whatever 50%, 60%, I'll feel good about having some left.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I'm dividing my extra strategy in a way that I'm going to make profit no matter what happens. So a lot of times people don't think that far ahead. People are just like, oh yeah, I have this asset, it's going to go up. When it goes up, I'll sell it.
Or they're just a permanent long-term investor not realizing that they should be doing more action.
Yeah. And the main takeaway from the entirety of the stream, and we touched on it really early with cycles, is there's gonna be a down. Like this isn't gonna go on forever. It may go into 2022. I don't see it getting too far into it, but if it does, that's great. If not, you have to be ready to take your cut. You've made these investments, you've looked into things, you've done your research. Be aware that there's going to be a down when you take your assets out and you get your profits from the top of that, you can get back in when it goes back down.
Right.
That's the good thing about cycles. We touched on it very early, but realistically, that's the whole point, is understanding that eventually it goes down. When it goes down, you can get back in, but you got to know to sell at some point.
Right.
So get good exit strategies. I mean, getting your initial investment back is kind of the main goal. So, I mean, if you put in $1,000 into something, once it gets to 4,000, maybe take your initial 1,000 out. Maybe you wait. That's fine, but just be aware it's not going to go up forever.
Right.
There is a point where you're going to have to take profits on things, and that's what you're doing this for to begin with. So,
Well, unless you're the only thing I'll say to that is if you're holding the real projects and there's probably bias on that, you can hold as many bear cycles as you want. It's just not fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I have to that point, I have assets I'm going to do that with. My exit strategy on certain assets are not going to happen within this cycle, and I'm aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
So realistically, when VeChain gets up to $100, sure, I'll sell VeChain, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. At least I don't think so. I mean, I hope it does, but that's the thought, right? Is you're going to have assets that you're going to hold for a long time, and that's good. You want that, but for the shorter term assets, you got to look to sell at some point.
Right.
And I'm not saying buy or sell anything. I'm just saying you're going to have to make a decision at some point, and it's easier to do that if you already have a plan for it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, those are some good closing comments from Chris. In general, I think, we've sort of gone over our perspectives and hopefully have given you all a good perspective on, what the halving cycles consist of at the core, and then what to expect out of these market cycles in the future. I think my key takeaway is that there will be less cryptos at the end of the next bear cycle. Probably still some memes, probably still some shit coins, but far less of them. And we'll continue to weed out certain players until we get to the top. But with that being said, Chris, it was great having you on the show tonight. Great talk chatting with you. And, please, what are the kids saying these days? Smash the like and subscribe button. And
smash it. Join the Telegram chat.
You can find Chris and I in there. You can follow Chris and I on Twitter. You can follow Constant Collab on Instagram. And just thanks for supporting us and staying posted, and we will catch you on the next time at Crypto After Dark.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. See you next. We'll catch you on another show soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Have a good night, guys.
We out.